from there. So we'll start out in a seated position. You can also sit on a chair if you're not comfortable sitting on the floor. Cross-legged position, also option to extend your legs long or have a little bit of a bend in your knees as well. Whatever is most comfortable for you to lengthen your spine. Another little option, if you do have something like blocks, if your hips, knees are way higher than your hips and you're rounding, this can be a nice support just to give some little bit of relief for the hips here. So wherever you're at, find yourself in a supportive space. Make any little fidgets, movements to settle in. Relax through your shoulders, your head, your neck, mouth, and jaw. Neither have your hands out wider or rest them at center. Allow your eyes to soften, to relax, either partway or completely closed. And take in a deep, full breath through your nose. Optional open mouth exhale here with a little sound or sigh. Then check in here if you find that your chin is quite forward and your body is leaning forward. See if you can lean just a little bit back behind into the invisible space, aligning your hips in line with your shoulders. And keep the top of your head pressing skyward. And take a moment or two here to land into the space that you've carved out. Whatever else has been happening for you this morning already in activity and conversation, in physical experience, in the mental realms, whether it's been more positive or more challenging, or maybe it's more neutral. Welcome all of that into the here and now. And with gentleness, start to hone your attention to the presence of your breath. Begin to deepen more fully. Inhale through your nose. If you're congested, breathe through your mouth. Flow into a three-dimensional breath, an expansive diaphragmatic breath. With every inhale, as air fills your lungs, you might notice your belly expand out a little bit. With the exhalation, as pressure is pressed and air is forced out of the lungs, belly draws a little bit inwards. Let the breath be like an accordion being played with rhythm, with grace. Full inhalations and full exhalations. Envision your breath circulating in 360 degrees all around your body. And as you stay with this breath pattern, gently take one hand flat to your heart center, then the other hand on top of that, making contact with your body here. And take a moment for setting of focus, direction, intention for your time here in this class. And think to yourself, what is it that you need most for this next hour, for the next several hours of this day, or for the upcoming weekend? What is a quality that you can use more of? Might be something like forgiveness or ease, energy, focus, vitality, perspective, compassion, self-care. What's one or two things that you want to call in? And to acknowledge this, as well as each other's company, even in the virtual land, gently bow your head towards your own heart space. Gradually release your hands down. Take on some light with your eyes. If there's a prop nearby, move it to the side space. If you're sitting on any sort of prop as well, move it to the side. Bring your hands back behind. Gradually stretch your legs forward. Point your toes out in front to release any tension from your knees. Relax through the toes. Create a little wiggle motion. Any sort of movement here with your legs just to release added tension, little up and down with the knees. From there, pause. Bend your knees to your own degree here. Root down, lengthen through the top of your head. With inhale, expand the arms out in front. With your exhalation, draw the hands towards you, round your back body, chin to sternum. Inhale to lift. Hands can also come to the earth here to support a little added press. Open through your front body. Exhale to round in. A few more times this way. Inhale to open, low back curve, chin to the sky. Exhale to round in. 2 more rounds here. Your breath, your rhythm. And final cycle, when you find yourself rounded, take an inhalation to return to a balanced place with your spine. Reassert your seat here. Inhale to extend, arms rise up to the sky. With exhalation, lean over to the right side, one hand over. Inhale to lift back up through center. Exhale, left arm again. Pulses same side. Inhale to lift. With the exhalation, gentle arc. Inhale to rise up, both arms torso level at center. With your exhalation, spin and rotate, twist to the right. One hand to knee, one hand back behind. Inhale to lift, arms rise to the sky. Exhale again, same direction, gentle movement and twist. Inhale to lift, one more cycle to the right. Inhale to rise, back up through middle. With exhale, left hand draws down, right arm up and over, stretch to the opposite side. Inhale through middle. Exhale, focus on length through the side of your ribs. Move with rhythm and breath. Final cycle over for the side stretch. With in-breath, lift both arms to the sky, torso long. Exhale, spin and twist, rotate over to the left side. Inhale to rise. Continue to move here your own range of motion, honoring your body. If you're seated in a chair, know that you can do exactly the same motion in a seated pose there as well. Final cycle here. Inhale to lift. Exhale to rotate. With the inhalation, rise back up to the sky. With exhale, lower your hands down. Adjust your legs, feet come out in front. And from there, with the hands supporting you, swing back behind. Come out to all fours. If you need a little bit more support here for your knees, this is where a towel or blanket can come in handy, or you can also double up your mat for support. Knees under hips and the hands under shoulders can also go wider from both of those points. Inhale to float your right leg back behind you to hip height. Point your toes back. Create a little stretch for the underside of your knee. One more inhale. With exhale, hug in, right knee towards center of your body. Inhale to extend, leg back. Exhale to hug in. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to hug in. This time pause. Dome your upper back to the sky. Pause for 3, 2, 1. With an exhale, release your knee down to the earth. From there, curl both of your toes under here. Round your back a little bit back to the sky, little scoop in your tail. With inhale, lift your knees off of the ground about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Exhale to lower back down. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. You can stay in this up and down motion for a little bit more fire building. Pause next time you lift up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, lower back down to the ground. Inhale, anchor. Left leg extends back behind you. Point your left toes back. Stay buoyant through the arms, the head and neck relaxed. Crown of the head, top of the head pressing forward. One more deep breath. With your exhale, draw in, left knee towards body. Inhale to lengthen. A few more rounds here. Move in this coiling motion. Final time here as you draw in towards center. Round your upper back to the sky. Pause and sustain this for 3, 2, 1. Exhale, release your knee down to the earth. Inhale, float your right leg back behind you. With exhale, take your time as much as you need. Step your foot in between of your hands. So you could use hand to calf support here. Curl your back toes under. Inhale to rise up. Both hands come onto your front thigh. Lean a little forward, back leg super strong. Inhale to lift. With exhale, take 1, 2, 3, however many steps you need to come up to the front edge of your space. From there, separate your feet wider than hip distance apart, could be to the width of your mat. With inhalation, sweep your arms up to the sky. With exhalation, sink down into a medium squat here. Inhale to lift. Exhale to sink. In breath to lift. Exhale, sink your own degree. So choose how far down you're sinking in your body here. Once more, you can stay in this up and down motion. Otherwise, next time you land down, pause here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, rise back up to the sky. Interlace your hands, index finger to sky, thumb back. If this is too scrunchy for the shoulders, take your hands to opposite elbows for a little bit more space. Inhale to lengthen. With exhalation, lean over to the right side. Pause here and sustain. It's a little bit of a stretch, but also heat building through the arms and the core. Standing half moon pose. Inhale to rise back up through center, stretch your arms up. With exhalation again, sink down, squat. Inhale to lift, arms rise. Exhale, squat. You can stay in motion or pause and sustain here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale to lift back up to the sky. Interlace the fingers or take the box. Exhale, lean over to the left side. Deep connected cycles of breath here, firing in the side of your body. Inhale to rise back up through center space. Exhale, release, open mouth, audible sound. Little exhale. Invite a few shoulder rolls through your shoulders. And check in with the heat level of your body. If you're noticing a little bit more sensation, a little bit more heat. From there, gently adjust your feet to a hip width distance. Stance can be also a little bit wider from here. Find a gaze out onto the earth a few inches out in front. Take your right hand to your hip, right foot anchors. Gradually bend your left knee back behind you and reach for your ankle, your foot here. This is where a prop can come in useful. If it's a hard reach for you, you can always use a belt, a tie, a towel as well. to add a little bit of support here. Stay connected to the rhythm of your breath. If you're not feeling enough stretch, start to draw your left heel in the direction of your sits bones. At the same time, you can press the top of the foot into your hand. Stay with it a few more cycles. Let the front of your knee be heavy in the direction of the earth. Feeling a stretch here at the front of your quad. One more inhale. With your exhalation, gently release your foot down. Gaze point still supporting you for balance, left hand to hip. Shift the weight to your left leg. Avoid locking out your standing leg. A little bit of a micro bend there as you gradually bend your right knee back behind. Use your prop if you need it here. Hand comes to ankle or top of your foot. And stay mindful as to what you need here. Is it more of a tug? Heel moves towards sitting bone. If you fall out of the balance, no big deal. Just come back into the posture. And check in with mental attention. If you find that your focus is drifting elsewhere, slowly bring the mind's eye to this moment of sensation, of breath, of curiosity. One more inhale. Exhale, gently release your foot back down to the ground. With inhale, circle sweep the arms up to the sky. With exhalation, take your left fingertips to your mid and upper back. From there, take your right hand to your elbow. Notice if your shoulders have scrunched way up, allow them to soften just a little bit. Deep breath in. With the exhalation, start to hug your elbow towards your head, but at the same time, press out in the opposite direction. Elbow presses back into your palm. Might find a stretch through your tricep, bicep here. Stay with the breath. One more inhale. Exhale, soften, both arms release down and back behind you. Interlace your hands back behind. If your shoulders are a little bit tense, this is where you can use your prop again, belt, towel, to have a little bit more of a wider grip. In either place, start to press your knuckles back, open through the front line of your body, collarbones, pectoral muscles expand. Lengthen up and out of your waistline as well. Deep breaths. One more inhale. With the exhalation, relax the arms, fusing your pop, place it down to the side. Inhale to sweep arms, extend back up. With exhale, right hand comes to your mid and upper back. Left hand comes to your elbow. And again, same thing here, little tug towards you. At the same time, press your elbow into your palm. Chin's at neutral as best you can here. Deep breaths. One more full active inhalation. With your exhale, gently release your arms down. Inhale to sweep, arms rise back up to the sky. This time, interlace your hands above the top of your head. Flip your palms upwards, root into your feet. From there, re-straighten through your legs. Stretch out through the palms as if you were being gently tugged skyward. Relax through mouth, jaw. Stay with it. A few more cycles of breath here. Final inhale. With exhale, gently release your arms by the side of your space. In breath, to elongate, arms lift back up to the sky. This time with the exhale, hinge at your hips, fold forward, arms wide, folding down into a forward bend. Bend your knees as much as you need here for low back and hamstring support. And stay right in this place. If you want a little bit more gravity traction on your spine, take your hands to opposite elbows and check in. How does that feel in your body? If your hamstrings are really unhappy here, bend your knees even deeply. Belly can move towards the thighs, but doesn't have to. So checking in with your own individual body here. Can also place forearms on thighs if this is too intense. Let your head and neck be heavy, open your mouth, letting gravity do its work here of creating a stretch towards the ground, lengthening. Three more rounds of conscious breath. Know that you can always release any posture that I'm guiding you through earlier than my rhythm. Listening to your body first and foremost. And with next exhalation, gradually release your hands down to the ground. Take your time here, mindfully step one foot, then one knee down to the ground, other foot, other knee down to the ground, returning to tabletop position. Use props as needed here for knees. Moving with the breath, inhale to sweep your tail back, collarbones broad forward, cow stretch. Exhale to round, back body to the sky, scoop your tail in, cat stretch. A few more rounds to move here, little integrative motion with the breath. If your wrists are a little more tender, you can always come into fists here to back off the pressure of the carpal tunnel. Few more cycles. Move with your breath. Inhale to expand. Exhale to coil and round. And final cycle here. When you find yourself in the rounded spots, use your next inhale to return your low back to a neutral space. From there, shift the weight of your hips to one side. Extend your legs out in front. And grab whatever you're using for a seated prop. So it could be a blanket, or if you have a cushion. Bend your knees. And again, if you're using a chair, this can also be done on a chair as well. Take your right foot so it's actually accessible to you. And if your right knee is not happy in this position, simply fill in the space, or the hips might be tighter so your knee is higher. Fill in the space, however many props you need to do this. Go ahead and make sure you're comfortable there. And from there, take your left hand with the knuckles to the sole of your foot. Create a little bit more of a vigorous movement to create some heat in the soles of your feet. So there's muscle tissue at your foot that connects all the way through your back body and actually ends up here at the top of your head, the front of the forehead. So by warming up the foot, we actually release some tension in that whole back line of the body. From here, pause. Take both of your thumbs to the side of your foot and start to create a little massage walking down towards the heel and then back up. And then back down. And one more time, back up. Once you're back up, take your left fingertips, spread them wide, interlace fingers in between of your toes. If this feels a little tense, continue to play with it. If it feels really, really painful, you can just go one toe at a time and play this way, stretching it out. So finding the balance point. We don't want to overdo it here. If the fingers are fine in between the toes, can create a few movements, spread the fingers, spread the toes. This is just to create opening for the webbing here. One more inhale. And with the exhalation, one more time, a little rub of the foot. Feel free to explore the inner arch here a little bit more if there's any tension there. Gradually release, switching sides to the opposite foot. Use as much props as you need to support. Right hand begins the experience with a little forward back. From there, switch both thumbs, explore the surface area of your foot, walking towards the heel 4 times. 2 down, 2 up. And once you've completed back up, right hand spreads, fingers in between toes, and notice this side might be a little different than your other side. And remember, if this is too much, just play with the stretching and movement of the toes and the webbing. So playing here, spreading the fingers, spreading the toes. And then gradually release back to the knuckles. Once again, little heat here. And gradually release. From there, especially if your hamstrings are a little tighter, stay with your prop for support. Remove the flesh away from the sitting bones. Extend your legs long. Micro bend in the knees, always welcome here. Inhale to lift and lengthen. With your exhalation, start to hinge, fold forward. If you have a tie or a belt, a towel, you can also use it for support here to the front of your feet. Inhale for length. With the exhalation, a little fold forward for the hamstrings. Keep the toes and the feet active here so they're not completely asleep. And finding the sweet spot. So finding about the 60-70% mark of the stretch. So you're not overdoing it. The body will actually start to defend itself if the stretch is at 100%. Finding that balance point. Send the breath to any areas of tension. Few more cycles here. Know that in this posture, it's totally fine to have your spine rounded. Just looking for an even rounding. So one spinal disc is not carrying the load of gravity unevenly or too much than the others. So if you're finding any undue sensation, back off your torso or bend your knees a little bit. And take your time to sink into this stretch. A few more rounds. Where can you release some holding? Use a soft inhaling breath to lift your torso back up to center space. Bend through your right knee and place your right foot over, or right foot can be to the inside or over the extended left leg. Inhale to lift and lengthen here. With your exhalation, use your left forearm to wrap your front knee. Right hand comes back behind. Inhale to lift and lengthen. And with the exhalation, start to rotate and spin your ribs to the right side. So this is a dual stretch. You're getting the twist here, but you might notice that you feel a little bit of sensation here at the right side of your glute. You can amplify this a little bit more by using the hook of your elbow to actually lift up a little bit. So you're tugging up, nothing is actually lifting. Tug up your leg. At the same time, anchor your right sitting bone down towards the earth. So that little tug can create a bit more stretch through that whole sideline of the hip, the glute. Deep breathing. And check in with focus, mental attention. If you're in another thought stream of your life, opportunity to come back to this moment of experience. Use an inhaling breath to gently relax and unwind back to center. Moving to the opposite side, right leg extends, left foot either to inside or outside of your leg. Use an inhale to elongate, lift out of your waist. Begin to rotate, hug, and hook your right elbow, left hand back behind. And focus on the level of rotation that feels like it's enough for you and your body here. And from there, if it is interesting to explore, start to add that little tug. So using your forearm strength to create a little bit of an upward engagement through your left leg. At the same time, anchor your left sitting bone, hip crease, in the direction of your mat. Noticing what kind of sensation, if any, you're aware of here. Relax through your eyes if that feels comfortable. Deep breathing. Few more cycles. So in this practice, we sustain these postures a little bit longer to let the body Receive the pose to let some of the tissues open a little bit longer. And use your inhaling breath to gradually release, rotate back through center space, extend your leg out. Feel free to make any little movements, motions here. And from there, draw both of your knees to a bend. Soles of the feet come together. Heels come as close to your groin as feels comfortable. The closer you come, the stretch will theoretically intensify. Start with the hands back behind to begin. Inhale to lift and lengthen. For many people, this is enough. If you're getting ample communication from your groin, stay right there. Next layer is to use a little bit of arm strength to hinge forward and fold a little bit. That might intensify things a bit here. If there's more openness to the center body, feel free to explore either hands to ankles or out in front. With inhale to lengthen, exhale, it's a deeper hinge and fold of your torso. Finding the posture shape that feels most supportive here for you. From there, relax through your eyes, soften your mouth, your jaw. Be in the experience of your pose. Honor any sensations that are arising. A few more rounds here to sustain. Remembering you always have the option to release earlier. And use a soft inhaling breath to press and rise back up to center, hands to knees to lift back into the middle space as well. Come off of your seated prop and have all of your props towards the back edge of your mat so you can reach them from a reclined position. And from there, plant the feet down to the ground, hands touch with inhale, lift and lengthen. Use your exhale to slowly round all the way down onto the earth. Once you're in a reclined position, in breath to lift both of your feet towards the sky. Hands come behind your hamstrings. Micro bend in your knees is welcome here. Create a few little explorative ankle circles. Know that I'm doing all of these movements if you need to peek from a reclined position at any point to see what's going on. Circle your ankles in the opposite direction. From there, pause, point your toes to the sky, create a little stretch from hip line all the way through hamstrings, calves, feet, toes. Inhale, breath. Exhale to rebend your knees, plant your feet onto your space. And take your right ankle to your left thigh right below your knee, creating a figure four. So sometimes called supine pigeon pose. So for many people, this can be enough. This is a beautiful place to pause and feel the stretch. If you need more, lift your left foot off of the earth. Next layer is to explore right hand through the window opening, left hand wraps behind your hamstring. If that's not enough, take the hands on top of your left knee. And if you're not feeling much stretch there, begin to add just a little bit of traction as you hug your legs towards you using a bit of arm strength. At the same time, press away into your palms. So that dual motion of towards you and away from you should create some interesting activation sensation for you. And stay with a soft but present breath here. Three more rounds of slow breaths in and out of your body. With every exhale, opportunity to let go of unnecessary tension. Use your exhaling breath to gently release, unlace the fingers if they're wrapped. Both feet come to the ground. And switch sides, left ankle to right thigh, right below your knee. Figure four, check in what this side needs, might be different. Taking any of the posture options, finding the sweet spot here for your stretch. And also know that you are always welcome to make any little rocking movements, micro movements. Sometimes that can help ease tension in the stretch. If you find that your mind is jumping around elsewhere, with kindness and care, bring your focus back to the curiosity of your body and what you're feeling, or the movements of your breath. A few more final rounds of breathing here in this stretch. And with your next exhalation, unlace your fingertips. This time bring both of your knees to center, hands back behind of your hamstrings. A moment again to stretch your feet up to the sky. Point the toes upwards. And with an out breath, gradually rebend your knees. Draw your feet to the right and left. Happy baby pose. Hands can stay low to the hamstrings or come up to your calves, ankles. Only the soles of your feet, if your low back and sacrum, can stay grounded on your mat. Usually it's just more comfortable that way. If you're not feeling enough here in the inner groin, create a gentle tug, arm strength down. Same time, feet press in a very slight resistance to the sky. In this position, know that you can gently rock side to side, or you can also stay static. Continue to remain with the focus of your breath. Three more cycles, deep, connected breathing here. With with exhalation, relax your feet back down to the ground, feet about hip distance apart, heels 5 to 6 inches away from your sitting bones. Bring your arms long by the side of your body, palms plant, shoulder press down, and the back of the head even presses a little bit down. Start to scoop your tail here, squeeze through your glutes. On an inhale, lift your hips and pelvis to the sky for bridge pose. Keep it moving at first. Exhale, lower back down. Keep engagement through the glutes. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Final time, inhale to lift. You can stay in the up and down or pause here for a brief moment, creating spaciousness through the spinal discs. Final inhale. Exhale to relax center of the body back down to the ground. And final time here to lift your feet off of the ground, extend your legs to the sky, bend your knees as much as you need. This time with the inhale, let the arms join facing upward straight to the ceiling. And from here, start to shake things out, fingertips, toe tips, calves and quads, forearms and triceps and biceps. So it's a full shake of your limbs. This is to get the lymph system going, activated, stimulated for cleansing. A few more rounds. Stay with it even if it feels a little different or there's a little bit of sensation. Keep shaking it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently release, hands on top of your knees, little hug. Can also go behind the knees. Make any little gentle motion, circles on your low back, your sacrum. Noticing anything that has unfolded here from these shakes, from your practice. And from there, pause and take a few moments here to set yourself up for comfort for the final pose. If your low back allows, extend your legs long, otherwise keep them bent. You might even have one knee resting to the side of the other. Cover up with any layers if you cool quickly. If you have something to put over your eyes, go ahead and use that. Ensure that your limbs are spaced out enough so the shoulders are at ease, that there's a sense of being held by the ground. And once you've settled onto the support of the earth, taking one more activation here, gradually squeeze through your toes, your inner legs, the abdominals, the ribs, scrunch your shoulders to your ears, bring your hands to fists, squeeze through your face as if you just tasted a sour lemon. So whole body contraction here. Sip in a breath. Sustain your breath at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, exhale, let everything go. Audible, ha, softening through every part of your body. And as you lay here, envision the layer of your skin like a soft blanket. And allow your muscles to unfurl, unwind from any tension. Let your bones be heavy, sinking into the support of the ground. Relax through mouth, jaw, the cheekbones, eyelids, forehead, spacious. Letting go. Full permission to simply be here and rest. I'll guide you back out in a few minutes. If you find that your mind is still in activity, feel free to focus on where you're aware of your breath in your body. Letting that be a little anchor point for the mind. And very slowly, Become more conscious of your body as you rest. And with the breath present in the background, allow for gentle waking motion. Brush the fingertips together. Make any movements through your toes. And take any other motions with shoulders, head, or neck. And from there, with kindness, bring the knees into center, roll over to a fetal position, either to the right or left. And from this place, find a supportive way to press a hand to the earth, rise back up, to take a comfortable seat with your spine upright, the eyes soft, and the hands either connected at heart center or one palm flat, the other hand on top of that. In this space, once you've settled in, take a moment to observe anything that has shifted for you through your time of practice. In your physical body or in your breath, or even in the space of your heart. And to acknowledge yourself for showing up this afternoon, each other's company here, as well as the intention, focus that you called in at the beginning of the class. Gently bow your head to your own heart, celebrating your wisdom, your strength, your dedication. Namaste.
Namaste.